Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Lily with San Antonio Water System, and I'm here with Stephen, who is hosting us in his lovely home. Stephen works at Saws as well, and he is sharing his palm knowledge with us today. So we're doing a Palm Care 101 for multiple reasons, particularly because the particular palms we're going to show you are water savers. They do not need a lot of water, and they are cold hardy, so they are good plants for our landscapes. But he'll get into all that detail. Before we get there, I want to do some housekeeping and remind everybody today we're just on Periscope, no Facebook Live. So if you are watching us on your Periscope app, please swipe and share. Share on Twitter, share on Facebook, share on Periscope. Let everybody know we're here, and invite them to come watch this great informative Periscope on how to, find the right palms for your landscape and how to care for them once they're there. What else am I forgetting? I guess that's pretty much it. Please, give us hearts, give us comments, or actually, let us know if you've got questions. Get on the app as well. On the Twitter app, if you're watching on your Twitter feed or on your desktop, you can't make comments. I'm not sure if you can give us hearts, but either way, if you're watching on the app, which I'm encouraging you all to do, that way you can take advantage of having Stephen's knowledge here and be able to ask some questions. So I'm going to get out of the frame, let you get going and tell us all about the palms. Thank you so much for inviting us into your home today.
Thank you, Lily.
Thanks.
I appreciate the invitation from my friends in conservation. I'm Stephen. I'm a water resource planner at San Antonio Water System, and I am a palm enthusiast. I'm a transplanted northerner. I've been living in South Texas for 10 years, and I think everyone who's lived through cold winters appreciates having a tropical backyard. My backyard is my favorite vacation destination, and I hope to share some knowledge with you today to make your yard your favorite vacation destination as well. Why palms? Palms are a great underutilized option for all of our South Texas types of landscape. It's a great additional landscape item for our water-wise gardens. And why today, why at the end of August talk about palm trees? Well, palms love to be planted when soils are hot. So when you buy it in your nursery pot, this is a great time because those hot soils generate root growth and get the roots going before the winter. So let's talk briefly about planting a palm. When you see one at the nursery, you want to dig a hole. If you buy a $25 palm, you want to dig a $50 hole. What does that mean? It means you want to really take the time to make a good home for your investment. So you want to dig the hole. I like to add some palm soil that's quickly draining. I'm on caliche and limestone, so without a pickaxe or a backhoe, I cannot plant anything bigger than a 5-gallon. It's just too much work for me. So I dig the hole and I put it in and I add the soil and leave it level at the same soil that it was growing in the container. And I water it in real well, and then I do not fertilize because I want the soil and the temperature to generate root. I don't want fertilizer to go into forming new growth. I want to do that the second year. So if we can do a little walk and talk and look at some of the palms in my collection, I'm excited to share with you. Then we'll come back and we're going to talk about the proper way to prune and how to fertilize and when to fertilize. So if cameraman Danny can follow me, I'd appreciate it.
He's going to beat you.
He's going to beat me. I'll be off. We're going to do the walk and talk. And there's some great species and genuses that live here that work in our gardens. I'll be like the palm geek. I do have botanical markers. I really am a palm enthusiast. And a great resource for palm information is the Palm Society of South Texas. And they do have a website, and you can just search that online. This palm has a great story to tell. This is Trachycarpus latisectus. It was only named as a named species in 1997 by two world-famous horticulturalists, Tobias Spanner and Martin Gibbons. They heard about this different type of windmill palm that was growing in India. So they traveled there. They went to Darjeeling, India, famous, we're all familiar with the tea, and they went to a hotel where this was growing outside, and a mature species, and they knew immediately it wasn't the common windmill palm. So they named this the Windermere palm because it was at the world famous Windermere Hotel. And now that story I have in my yard, and I hope you could have it in your yard as well.
Cool.
So
what makes it different, Stephen? Why is it not like the common windmill palm?
Trachycarpus fortunei, that is a great palm for here, very, very cold hardy, grows at higher elevations in India. But at our elevation, our southern latitude, can easily get sun scald on the leaves if it's in full day sun, especially in June, July, August, September, if it doesn't have some afternoon shade. This grows at lower elevations, so this is the best, potentially, a good palm for our climate because it's cold hardy to the low 20s. This is seeing 36 degrees of sub-freezing weather without any damage, and it doesn't receive any supplemental water. The only water my palms receive are from my garden hose. There is no spray irrigation at all.
And how long have you had this?
This I bought from this little palm. It was a quart size. I've had this in the ground 3 years, and I just looked at a photo of this from May of 2015. This has grown 1.5 feet since then. And Latus sectus, its species name, means wide, alluding to the wide area of the leaf. Although here, on a juvenile leaf, you could actually see the sun scald that just came up in July when it was hot and dry and 104 degrees. So palms are more sensitive as juveniles than they are when they're mature. So this is in shade by the oleander, and this will grow up into the sun as it matures. So Trachycarpus is a great genus for here. Another great genus that's not easy to find is Brahea, which is native to Mexico. And the reason I love Brahea is because they're native to dry areas, and they're native to areas on alkaline limestone soils, which that should sound very familiar. This is Brahea armata. It grows exceptionally slowly, and I'm showing it because it's beautiful. It has a very blue leaf, which is a waxy coating on the leaf. The more sun, the bluer the leaf. But you can see I have a damaged leaf here. Very stiff, it's somewhat necrotic, and that's because while this is in decomposed granite and sand, and it's about 1 foot elevated, my water drains through here from heavy runoff, and I was getting root rot. So it was damaged. So when it finally dried out, I applied no supplemental water at all. There is one of these that's quite beautiful along the Riverwalk, but it likes low atmospheric humidities and very dry weather. And this I had to get purchase mail order. This little guy was at a big box store in the spring, and it was in this little tiny bit of soil, and it was screaming, "Stephen, buy me, take me home," and it was 50% off. This is a bottle palm, and this is an example of what to resist when you're out shopping. This is a nice palm maybe by your pool in a pot, someplace you can move it in. This is purely tropical. This will actually start suffering in temperatures below 40 degrees. So even temperatures above freezing, this can start to decline and die. So right after Halloween, when my brother comes over, I'll ask him to help pick this up and carry it to the front yard so I can move it in my garage. This does get a beautiful bottle swollen trunk in time, but it's a beautiful little palm, but it's good to resist unless you can really move it in during the winter. The next one I want to feature, and then we'll go into fertilizing and some winter damage. This is Brahea aculeata. It's the Sonoran Hesper palm, and it's native to the Sonoran Desert of Mexico. I think this is absolutely one of the best palms I've tested. And this is like being a master chef. This is my test kitchen, my backyard. I've experimented with over 36 types of palm trees. And this, what I love, it is completely drought tolerant. Brahea aculeata survives 100% on natural rainfall. So it's great for a true xeric garden, meaning dry, where you apply absolutely no additional water. In 2011, with 59 days of 100-degree plus temperatures, I never watered this at all, and it's fine. It's producing little fruits right now, which when you have fruit and seed, you know you have a healthy palm. It's leaning a little bit because of the shade of the bigger one next to it.
So will you reintroduce yourself and tell everybody who maybe just joined us who we are, what we're doing out here?
Absolutely, Lily. Thank you. I'm Stephen. I'm with the Water Resources Department at San Antonio Water System, and my friends in conservation, knowing that I'm a palm enthusiast and have a conservation at heart, asked me to participate in Periscope and talk about palms as a great addition to our water-wise landscapes.
Perfect.
And if we can talk about pruning and fertilizing really quick. After your palm's established, it's going to take 3 years. There's a saying when planting palms: the first year they sleep, the second year they creep, and the third year they leap. Well, leap is a relative term. Some grow super slow, 6 inches a year. The Mexican fan palm will grow 3 feet a year. But that just means they're going to put time in developing an underground trunk before much top growth occurs. So the second year, I like to use a good all-purpose palm fertilizer. And there's lots of different brands out there. You want to make sure it has potassium, magnesium, and manganese, along with micronutrients, which would include copper and boron.
We had a question about what the best time to plant palms is.
This is the best time to plant palms, when soil temperatures are warm to even hot. That activates root growth. So when the palms come out in the nurseries in the spring, it's always tempting in February, right after Valentine's Day, when the weather warms here. You really want to wait until the nighttime temperatures are consistently over 55 degrees Fahrenheit. If you could wait into April, that would even be better. But between April and now, even into September, is the best time because our soils are at their peak temperature.
So we also had a question about what are not good plants in the area. So maybe you can go through a list of the recommended ones and which ones they should avoid, like one we just talked about, unless they
I'll point them out as we go along as well, but Sable mexicana, sometimes named Sable texana, which is a synonym, that is native from Brownsville all the way up actually into Bexar County. When European settlers arrived, there's a lot of recent research that the Mexican sable was all the way up the Guadalupe and San Antonio River Basin. And they're completely cold hardy and completely drought tolerant after the 3rd year. One of the things I think sables aren't purchased as quickly in the nursery as the Mexican fan palm, which is much less cold hardy and not native, is there's just a jumble of leaves. There's not really a nice looking trunk. When you buy it, you have to be patient and wait. And they're available in all different sizes and colors. I'm sorry, all different sizes and pots. There is a shrubby sable that grows along the coast up to North Carolina, Sable minor, and they're also native to Texas up into Arkansas and Louisiana. So that is by far the best trunking palm. You'll see sables at the entrance to the airports and along 281 on the highway. It's very closely related to Sable palmetto, which is the Florida sable.
Let me let you, we've got a couple of other questions.
Great, I love the questions. Okay.
And then let's get kind of into some shade for you so you can keep addressing some of those questions.
Pruning. Pruning is very, very important with a palm. If you see leaves yellowing, bottom leaves, that's normal. That's a healthy palm. They're pulling the potassium and the manganese and the magnesium out of the leaf into the upper crown. And when you prune, you want to prune from the horizontal plane down. From the horizontal plane up, you want to leave those leaves. This is a feather duster. This is not a palm tree. We've all been to the valley, or we've all seen when you're driving to South Padre, palms that are over pruned, and you just see this little tuft. They do that a lot with date palms and with the Mexican fan palm. That is robbing the tree of energy. It doesn't have enough leaves to produce photosynthesis and feed itself. That's where most of the energy is coming from. But what's really important, some of these palms have huge thorns. You want to wear eye protection, so you want to don your safety gear and protect your eyes.
And you just got a shout out. They're saying no question, but they want to let you know you're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. You want good thick gloves, because some of these are armed. And then this is most important. Before you start, you want to take your cutters, and whether it's rubbing alcohol and an old cloth from the rags in the garage, you want to sterilize all over carefully, or you could make it real simple and spray with an all-purpose disinfectant, let it dry, and then you can prune, prune, prune. However, this is the important part. Before you would go and prune a second palm tree, you would start that all over. There's a disease called lethal yellowing. I'm not an expert on palm diseases. And Fusarium wilt, and you don't want to spread from tree to tree. Just like with oak wilt, you want to be very careful. You always want to sterilize your equipment between one tree and the next and start all over.
Great.
So protection.
Take us over to this palm here. You and I were looking at this earlier, and it might be a good opportunity for us to address another question, which was, do palms have various heights? And obviously we saw a short little shrubby, slow grower, and then we see this that might be 40 feet tall at some point, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so tell us about this beautiful palm.
Palms have lots of different heights, and there's one for your yard that will be perfect for the height you need. So we have palms to my left, which will get 15 to 25 feet. This palm, Phoenix sylvestris, which was purchased locally in a 5-gallon container in August of 2006. So I have 15 feet of trunk in 10 years. This palm will top out at 40 feet. But what's important to note is, one, it has huge thorns that are good 6 to 8 inches long. Those beautiful dates. This isn't the true edible date palm. That's Phoenix dactylifera, which you could see at the shops of La Cantera. But these leaves will get 10 to 12 feet long on one side, so that's 25 feet plus 2 feet, so you need 26 feet of space on this palm. The Canary Island date palm, Phoenix canariensis, we've seen those at the entrance to the Rim Shopping Center. They have a beautiful green leaf. Those leaves get up to 20 feet long on one side. And I've seen people in my neighborhood, and maybe you've seen it as well, where people will buy in this little container. It looks really sweet. It's screaming for you to take it home. It's 1 gallon. It has 8-inch leaves. I've seen it planted up against the sidewalk by the house, by their driveway. And in 2 years, they have 5-foot leaves, and it's scrunching the house. It has nowhere to go. They can't prune it up. And so it's dug out, resulting in the death of a palm and an unhappy gardening experience. And I want you to have a great experience with your palms. One caveat on pruning. My nephew was only 3 years old when I planted this, and I taught him that it was sharp, and he'd say, "Uncle Teven, sharp palm." So I said we don't ever want to prune above the horizontal plane except for health and human safety, or the safety of our 4-legged family members. That always comes first. So when this was short and I had kids running around, I would over prune it, or when the leaves would start touching the ground, because I wanted to make sure everybody was safe and no one got poked in the eye. So keep that in mind. If it's safety, always over prune. This palm, real quick, this used to be its own species, the dwarf windmill palm. It's now a subspecies of the common windmill palm. This is native to cultivation. It's found in Japan, but it's never ever been found in the wild. How cool is that? It's only known in cultivation. This is completely cold hardy, not as drought hardy in extreme heat. It does have a moderate degree of drought hardiness, but it needs a little bit of supplemental moisture in a year like 2011. I do have a leaf back here that's completely yellow. That's an example. The energy's taken from the tree, and it's safe to prune this off now. Now with winter damage, if we had a cold winter and there was lots of damage, or let's say my Mexican fan palm we'll look at next was damaged, it's tempting as a gardener to run outside and cut everything off as soon as it warms, but you want to resist the urge to do that. And that's because, one, it's providing protection in case of additional cold weather, but if there's any green on the tree during a bad winter, leave it on until the weather warms and you have new growth, because even if the leaf is 100% brown and the stem's green, that green stem is feeding the tree. This is the common Washingtonia robusta, the Mexican fan palm, available everywhere, very inexpensive because, as you've seen, it germinates along 281 and the concrete berms and in your sidewalks. I just love this brown chestnut trunk.
Is this the one that you say doesn't look very trunky when you see it in the
No,
nursery,
this
right?
actually has a beautiful little trunk in the nursery.
Yes, okay.
This is named after George Washington, Washingtonia, our first president. Washingtonia foliifera is the California fan palm. Robusta refers to robust, that this grows up to 3 feet per year. This is one of the fastest growing palms. It's more attractive than the California fan palm, Washingtonia foliifera, which means thread-bearing because you see all those white spires coming down.
Yeah.
But that likes really dry area, and the trunks tend to taper and not be as attractive here, although they're beautiful in California and Arizona. they get some humidity problems. So I really like this. This will form a petticoat. The leaves will come down. I tend to prune those away, although if you leave it on, that does provide additional winter hardiness.
And this is how old of a plant?
This has only been in the ground 4 or 5 years.
And again, it was a relatively
It was
small...
in a 3-gallon container. Very inexpensive, and it's a great landscape, although it does require additional pruning. Now, as a hobbyist, I have deep root fertilization. I have my arborists come out and provide deep root fertilization, and you want to fertilize in end of February, July, and early November.
And we had another question, I'm sorry.
No, I love the
Sago
questions.
palms, are those really palms, and are they dangerous to pets?
Sago palms are not palms at all. They're actually more closely related to pine trees. They've been around since the Triassic and Jurassic period with the dinosaurs. That was their heyday on the planet. They're actually in decline. The sago palm can be beautiful, but the seeds are lethal to dogs. 1 or 2, depending on the size of your dog, will be fatal, unfortunately. So, but the roots, the leaves, and especially the seeds, if you have a dog chewer. So when you're out in a dog park or walking in a neighborhood, be familiar with where you walk your dog and just try to keep those away. Just a few more that I'm going to feature. Sable is my favorite genus to plant in San Antonio because it is native, it is completely cold hardy, and it is completely drought tolerant.
Hey Steve, someone wants to know if you'll plant their palms for them.
Well, we'll have a palm planting party. This I did receive in mail order in a little quart container. Makes shipping very reasonable. This is Sable rosii. It's native to Mexico. It's been down to 16 degrees and 110 without damage. And this is an example of how not to prune. I purposely over prune. This is the feather duster I was talking about. This is in shade so you can see the long stem. And what I love about sables, no thorns, completely smooth. And so the stem is much longer because it's grown in shade. I have the exact same species in the front yard in full sun all the way around and the much more compact crown. But it has this beautiful smooth trunk, and this grows about 2 feet a year. And this was very easy available at a couple online sources. Last 3 palms, this little cascade palm or cat palm, I'm showing it because it's available everywhere. It's sweet. It is one of the shrub palms, and it's easy to plant. It has a good degree of cold hardiness to about 26 degrees overnight. And shrub palms are a good palm in place of Photinia, the red tip. We walked past my hidden Mediterranean fan palm, but I have the blue variety, and that gets very thick. You could prune the leaves up. You could leave it very dense to block, as a privacy screen around a pool. But shrub palms serve that purpose. With the cascade palm, it's only hardy to the mid-20s, but it's easy to dig up and replace. But it grows naturally in Mexico and Central America in quickly flowing streams. So this is in the flow of drainage in my yard. It does require a little extra irrigation, so it's near my garden hose. But if you have a pond in your yard, you could submerge this maybe a third, and it'd be a great addition to your pond. Sable mexicana, I've been saving the best for amongst the last. This is our native Texas sable. And if you've ever been to Brownsville, there's the Sable Sanctuary. Beautiful location. If you're a birder, they've got green jays. There's even an online bird feeding station you could watch. It's beautiful. It's a great place to visit. This I planted 4 years ago. It grew very, very slowly, which I wanted to put underground growth. You have to know with sables where you plant them because they will have a taproot up to 3 feet deep. And so you're not really going to be digging this up with your shovel in your backyard. But now I'm getting lots of growth. I don't ever have to worry about supplemental water or irrigation.
Steve, you talked about having very challenging soil out here.
Yes.
But you just told me that might grow up to 3 feet deep. Does that impede its growth? If it was in a different type of soil, would it be maybe growing faster?
This is going to grow maybe 1.5 feet per year under ideal conditions anyway. And so, if you're in sandy soil or you're in loamy soil, it might grow a little bit faster, but you're never going to get a rapid rate of growth from a sable palm. And then if I can show you one more, and we'll talk about some online resources and garden centers. This, I won't ask Danny to run around, but this is my most tropical palm I'm growing, and I'm very excited about this because it literally was in this teeny tiny quartz. This is Livistona, which is one of the best genuses for here as well. They're native to Australia. This is Livistona decora, related to Livistona chinensis, the Chinese fan palm, which is easily available at your local retailer. And this is hardy down to 23 without damage. It's been in the ground 9 years. I've had 3 winters of damage. But decora means decorative, and it's known for this beautiful weeping because the leaves are split and break down. And this is just absolutely beautiful in the wind. And this gets about 2 feet of growth per year, and I absolutely love it. So it's been a lot of fun sharing my passion for palms with you. Some great online resources. You can Google these and they'll come up. A local one in Texas is Yuccadoo Nurseries, Y-U-C-C-A, like yucca. Also in North Carolina, there's a large mail order catalog that has a great collection of cold hardy perennials, and they do cold hardy palms, and that is Plant Delights. And there's a nursery in California that I've ordered from extensively that I can get very large palms with in pots, and that's junglemusic.net. And then also, this is a great time if you see something featured today that you might be interested in planting in the spring. You can go and ask your favorite independent nurseryman to maybe special order something for you. Sorry to squeeze you up against the fence.
That's okay.
But remember, for a listing of wonderful palms to plant in and around San Antonio, and a great listing of additional water-wise landscape material, always visit gardenstylesa.com. And I have to thank my friends in conservation for this opportunity today. And I hope this has been a lot of fun for me to share my backyard and my passion for palms. I hope you've been inspired as well. And I have to thank Lily and Danny for doing the walk and talk with me.
Of course. Well, thank you very much for sharing. Again, thank you guys for joining us. And remember to join us every Thursday at 10:30. We'll bring you more conservation topics and other SAWS related topics. We will post the link to this Periscope also on our Facebook page, and it'll be on our YouTube channel. So make sure you're following us there and feel free to share it. And there'll be, the Periscope will also be on Garden Style SA, along with an article that gives you more information on each of the types of palms that we discussed, as well as, and we did have this question of the sort of the worst palms to have in this area. We talked about coconuts and how they wouldn't survive in our temperature. So we'll include a short list of maybe the palms that you really can't grow in our climate. So look for more information on our social channels. Thank you guys for joining us.